Hey everyone, welcome to ScreenGeeks video. This is Dave.
This is Barry.
Do we just call it ScreenGeeks going forward? That way,
ScreenGeeks TV, whatever this is. Yeah.
I figure if we just called it like ScreenGeeks, I think, which I might just start doing going forward, it'll make it work for both the video and the audio when we start publishing the podcast again. Because all these are going to go up as audio podcasts. It's really easy to just export it out. How you been, man?
I'm really good. Really good. Yeah. Things are, the world is crazy, but I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there. Sometimes I'm a good parent. Sometimes I'm not. When we do our live stream, which we'll talk about shortly, we're going to have a thing called the ScreenGeeks Kitty Table since we're both parents, and I have a horrible kitty table story.
Oh, no.
So Abby has started. Yeah, it's going to be great. So Abby starts doing like the 1-2 buckle my shoe thing, and Stefan, they're just having a good old time. And meanwhile, in my head, all I can think is 1-2, Freddy's coming for you. And I'm like, I'm a horrible parent. It stayed up here. That's the one saving grace. It stayed up here.
There you go. You restrained yourself. That's good.
But oof, that is not a proud moment as a parent.
The question though, I mean, when she's a teenager, and I suspect she will still love cinema because you're her father, are you going to get into some of that stuff? Some of the interesting stuff that's, well done, but, a little on the heavy side?
I think, I'm not sure. She's a very sensitive kid. She's a good kid, but she's very sensitive about that stuff. But at the same time, she loved the Iron Giant. So my rule personally has been I'll watch just about anything with her, but I'll be watching it with her. So we can discuss it afterwards. But we'll talk about what we've been watching with our children in a couple weeks. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. It will be next week.
Next week.
Foreshadowing. In the meantime, if you want to catch old audio episodes of the show, you can catch us over at ScreenGeeks.com. You can catch old video episodes I'm actually putting them up at Facebook.com/ScreenGeeks or YouTube.ScreenGeeks.com. And this week we're taking a trip down memory lane. Like in a way, this is kind of a great excuse for us to catch up on stuff that we've just missed over the past 8+ years.
Yeah. This is a weird one for me because I moved. As you know, I grew up in Makawao, Maui, and I moved back to Maui in it was late summer of 2014. So I missed the chance to see Jamin Winans' follow-up to Ink, which is The Frame. I kind of missed that whole thing of it premiering in Denver. I kind of lived vicariously through that Westward article, which was so amazing, that interviewed the two of them, spoke about their process, their journey as filmmakers. And of course, you got to go to the set of this without jumping ahead and burying the lead, but you went to the set of this film. And as I told you, Dave, I thought it was...
I was mean. I'm sorry. I was mean.
Because you showed me the picture of the set, which is just a dazzling photo. And I'm like, well just between us, like, just tell me, what is it? What did they tell you? Tell me anything. It's a sequel to Ink, right? They're just not telling you, right? Just like, you wouldn't tell me anything. You wouldn't give me anything. Wow, man, those Winans got Dave on lockdown. He's not telling me anything. He's not giving it up.
You talk to them. They don't tell you anything no matter what. That's the reality of the situation. Like, okay, just a little bit of love there. Ink. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we should probably start there. We're going to be talking about Jamin Winans' The Frame, which came out in 2014. Before we get into it, we should probably talk about our history with the Winans.
Yeah.
I want to say, was it 2009 when Ink came out? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, please, because my memory of how their movie and how they kind of came into our lives. I mean, we were doing ScreenGeeks for 3 years, and you were the one that found out about that movie, right? It was you, right?
Yeah. So we were covering Starfest. As we were prone to do. I actually ended up, I guess we can pull the curtain back even more because we can't seem to go an episode without pulling back a curtain somewhere. I was privileged to help build out the media team for Starfest. That's how we got into Starfest. I said, hey, I want to come do interviews. And our good friend John Jackson said, well, who are you? What do you want to do? And I was like, well, this is who we are. And I'm happy to bring my podcasting rig for you and play audio engineer to anybody who wants to do interviews with anybody, whether I'm talking to them or not. Come on in, pal. And that was our door in. And we've been friends with everyone over there ever since.
Yeah. But
that year, I believe it was 2009, they ended up bringing the film to Starfest for main events. And it was the Saturday night party movie, like while the big dance, the masquerade's going on and the party's happening and all this stuff. They're showing this movie. I'm like, this sounds interesting. And a good friend who I haven't talked to in a while, hope you're doing well, Nate. If you see this, Nate Schneider, he was like, hey, I saw this movie. I saw it's playing. You need to go see it. So, okay, sure, why not? and I was not prepared for what I was about to see. And I flagged them down afterwards. I'm like, will you please come? Are you coming back tomorrow? Because if you are, we need to do an interview. Please, oh, please. Everyone in our podcasting sphere of friends who were there on media, I wouldn't shut up about it. So they all watched it and enjoyed it too. And I did the same to you, I think, too.
Well, what I remember, because I remember I met them and saw their movie right afterwards. They had a screening at the Lon Chaney Theater.
That's right. That's the one that I moderated the Q&A for.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd seen the film. That was the first time I met them. I found him to be extremely sweet, soft-spoken, but very sweet and unpretentious and incredibly smart and learned. And he's really one of the good guys. And and his wife Kiowa is just enchanting and wonderful. And they're both clearly major film buffs and artists. And I was really like, I'm telling Jules, like, I really hope I like this movie because I like them.
Yeah, totally.
And I was just so floored by it. Couldn't believe how good it was. It haunted me for days and days. Couldn't stop thinking about it. And then, as you remember, I invited them to show the film at the University of Colorado Springs, UCCS, and they graced us with the film, and they gave Q&A, and it was an amazing experience. I have students who I've kept in touch with over the years who've said that Ink is still one of their favorite movies. They revisit it frequently.
That's awesome.
It made my, other than Michael Mann's Public Enemies, it was my favorite film of 2009. I love Ink. I think it still holds up. I think it's a masterpiece. I would say that if I had never even met the Winans, but knowing them, obviously, I was very excited about their follow-up film. But yeah, I guess you take over the story from here because I moved out here and then you kept your finger very close on the pulse of the frame.
So the idea that I came up with was, hey, would you like to come to Starfest and do like a 5-year anniversary screening? Because I'm a firm proponent of the film. I love the film. They're wonderful people. They work their butts off. They know what they're talking about. Yeah. And they're like, well, we'd love to, but we're shooting this new movie. As a matter of fact, do you want to come visit the set? I'm not going to say no. It's in Denver. I had to blow off part of Starfest. Like there was a big Media Fest morning where all the they get the celebrities to come down and talk to the media outlets to knock out as much stuff ahead of time as we can. Yeah. And I was like, sorry guys, I got to go. And so I walked in and it was my first time ever visiting a film set of any sort. So I had no idea what to.
Can you tell us where you were?
It was a warehouse in Denver. It's actually the warehouse where they're doing the heist with all the semis at the beginning of the film.
Okay.
Of the frame. So when I finally saw the movie, I'm like, hey, I was there. So if there's one thing the Winans are fantastic about, it's showing an economy of shooting locations without making you feel it. Yeah. So they actually turned that warehouse into a massive soundstage and had 2 or 3 sets in there. And it was a blast. I don't know how in depth to get this. I'm just going to throw the picture up right now. It'll show up when I do it in post. And that's a scene near the end of the film. It is one of the most magnificent things I could ever imagine being, a set being built. Like it makes me understand more like when Christopher Nolan or Tarantino has a set built and every single detail has to be right down to the newspapers. Yeah. That room was phenomenal. The light bulbs, I don't think they're in the shot, were actually light bulbs that their prop master made the metal spirals around, and he did it on every single light bulb. I mean, the attention to detail was amazing. And so I got to peek in there, and pretty much they're like, you can watch on the monitor, but shut up. They didn't say it like that. They could have, I wouldn't have minded.
Right, yeah.
But what I found out was that Jamin is a meticulous filmmaker too, and there were a zillion takes being made of just this one scene near the end that involves one of the main characters, Sam, going into an office. And seeing how they pulled that off on each side of the room was a fully built out version of that set of the office. So they had people running back and forth. During lunch break, I got to run in there and take a look around real quick, not muss anything up, the sawdust and whatever. And they were kind enough to take that picture with me. And then I got to actually have lunch with Tiffany Mwallum, who played Sam. And awesome. It was great. Had a little chat with her, and it was fun. And I'm like, I hope I don't hate your movie. I literally, I think it was after Ink. I had coffee with Jamin, and we were just talking. I'm like, dude, you're great. I hope I never hate your movie, but even if I do, I'm never going to stop looking forward to what you make. He's like, I hope you never hate anything I make too. So come 2014, the film comes out. Um, I might have the timeline wrong. I think I was just trying to look for an excuse to do anything with ink. And since the film came out in 2014, I think they were still filming in 13. I don't know.
Did you see it in the theater?
I did. They
Okay.
did a one night only. Oh no, I went for the opening night of their run at the Denver Film Society's C Film Center
Nice.
and got to chat with them. They were very kind enough to sign a whole bunch of stuff for me to give away at Denver Comic Con that year while I was running the Real Heroes Filmmaker series.
Awesome.
And I saw this movie and I'm like, I've seen Ink. This movie is a transformative experience. I haven't seen it since Abby was born. I need to. We will. There are things in the plans and the makings possibly, so I'm kind of holding off. But then I saw this movie that was anything but Ink. I have no problem. I'm stealing from Dave Chenrit /Filmcast. I have no problem saying out loud that I'm doing it. But I'm like, how do you describe this movie? So I thought, hey, what would Dave do? So I went over and grabbed the plot synopsis from imdb.com. Two strangers find their lives colliding in an impossible way. Alex is a methodical cargo thief working for a dangerous cartel. Sam is a determined paramedic trying to save the world while running from her past. That is as vague as can possibly be. It gets the point across of the film. But I'm going to show the trailer, but I don't think it's going to really help explain a darn thing.
Not one bit. No, it's cool and it's lovely to listen to, and the images are cool. But if you can figure out what this movie is about from the trailer, you're clearly a genius, or Stanley Kubrick, because there's no you can't, God bless him. He made a trailer that doesn't spill out the whole movie. That's fantastic. But it's also a vague trailer. It's a frustratingly vague trailer, especially for someone like me who wasn't living in Denver when this movie came out, and I couldn't find a review that spoiled anything. I couldn't find anybody who would tell me what this movie is, and all I had was the trailer, and I'm like, and I'm looking at it frame by frame, like that's not helping. I have no idea what this movie is.
So if you are going for the full Canada, the unsullied lifestyle from not wanting to watch trailers, this is one of the few times when it's safe to watch the trailer because you have no clue what the heck's going on.
None whatsoever. Yeah. Cool trailer, but vague, very vague.
Let's quit talking about it. Let's watch it. So do you still have any idea what the movie's about after watching that?
I think so. I mean, I think it's about free will. I think it's about the notion of free will, whether it applies only to real people or whether it also applies to individuals who created because they're characters in fictitious works.
We should probably. Here's the thing: we can't talk about this movie without spoiling some stuff.
Well, let me do this, because this is what the Westward did, and I thought this was
Okay.
really intriguing. And I swear to you, Dave, I promise, Scouts Honor, no spoilers from me. But this
I
is
wasn't
what
going to
James.
spoil anything past the first 20 minutes, so that's
Okay,
kind of where I'm
I
thinking.
wouldn't dare do that either, because no, even though I'm not the biggest fan of this film, I'm not, and I'll get into that more in detail. But I want people, if they see this film, to see it fresh and clean. But no, in the Westward article, Jamin said when he was a young man, apparently he was watching a soap opera, and he had the TV on. I guess he took a nap. If I remember the story correctly, he woke up and it seemed like, soap operas being filmed the way they are, and it looks like home video quality. There was a character who was like staring straight at the camera, and he really felt like the person on the TV was staring directly at him, and it terrified him. He quickly ran behind the couch, and that's a terrific image. It's an image that the film basically builds upon.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what The Frame is about, and I like that. I think
Yeah.
I think in a sense that's a way to get into what the movie's about. It's about the nature of reality. It's about how characters that we watch on TV, we kind of, we don't think of them as characters, we think of them as real people, the relationship that we have with television. And this is TV in a very traditional sense. This movie was made before the digital switch. So there is this sense of like a TV being a big, gigantic, boxy thing before everyone had flat screens, before everybody, had, widescreen TVs. So it's interesting that way, because I think we kind of take advantage of it, because everything is connected to the internet. It's a different world.
We're doing a video podcast now, for crying out loud.
I know, man. And it's funny. I was thinking about this too. It's like, because I'm watching The Frame, and I'm like, yeah, it's very eerie when it portrays what I just described, the whole idea of like a character of someone on TV looking at you. But I'm thinking, like, between what you and I are doing right now, Dave, and what I do every day with Zoom chats, it's like this is reality. I shouldn't be having conversations with my freaking laptop, but I am. I'm constantly talking to my computer, and people are talking at me. It's a weird world, but The Frame is dealing with this in a way that's very foreign and very spooky, I gotta say.
Yeah, so it's fair to say, if you've seen Ink, if you haven't, I'm not going to say don't watch the movie, because we might have something in the works to do something fun. It's on Amazon Prime. It's well worth checking out. But there's an entirely different visual style to The Frame. It almost feels more like a Cronenberg film.
That's a really good way of putting it. I mean, looking at it just recently, it begins with this visual. It's so beautiful and breathtaking for its simplicity, where the camera is doing the slow pan and then it backs up. Slow pan, backs up. It's like a wave coming in and out.
And then it plays with the scene like 5 seconds later. Like, you think, oh, he's moving this way. And then the guy walks a different way, and then the camera follows along. I'm like, this is really... You have to be confident to make this movie, I think.
Exactly. It's very playful, very confident. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's a filmmaker kind of testing the limits of what you could do with a film, in a sense. There are a lot of reviewers who finally did review this movie, and I got to say, the reviewers that I love are the ones who didn't spoil anything. It's the reviewers who didn't like the movie who were like, and this is what happens in Act 3. I hate those guys. Anyway, so what everybody is very quick to say, it's like a low budget Christopher Nolan film, or they say it's a low budget. They mention different filmmakers, but really, I mean, it's not really about budget. And I felt the same way about Ink. It's just about what you can achieve if you're a creative, imaginative filmmaker. I mean, I guess I could just get into it. I don't think the movie is as strong as its setup. I don't think it follows through on its concepts. It's not that it doesn't take it far; it takes it very far. I was dissatisfied with it on some level. In terms of the story, how it develops. I had some issues with that. There's some performances I thought that were decent, but I think better actors in certain roles, which I will mention, could have been better for the film. But what I do love about this movie is particularly the sequence where the title is taken literally, and the idea of being frames explored. It's pretty fantastic.
Did I explain to you how they did that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you after we were done recording, because again, we're not spoiling a darn thing.
I'd love to know. Yeah, no, I mean, this is like, it's a movie for people who love film and filmmakers. I do feel like Ink, even though it's a complex film and a very layered film, I think that's the more accessible film. Although yes. I don't think The Frame is necessarily like a a painfully challenging film. It's not like like we were talking about Malik a few weeks ago. This is not that.
Here's the thing.
I think it's accessible enough.
I kind of feel like it is almost like a Malik film in that he has a theme that he wants to play with. And it seems that Jamin was more interested in exploring the ideas as opposed to really telling a more cohesive story, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying about some of the performances. I'm wondering,
yeah, that's the thing. Is like if you and I are talking about Brad Pitt, screw him. He makes $20 million a movie.
Well, no, that's not why I'm putting it. I'm trying to
filmmakers like live in your zip code. So and also actors live in your zip code. So I want to be nice. It's an indie film.
Well, I'm not even going there. I'm trying not to spoil anything. That's the hard thing with this movie.
I see. So we don't want to talk about an actor possibly playing more than one role. This is what you're referring to.
Okay. No, I don't.
Okay.
It kind of does play into that.
Okay.
In that I think that within the writing and the performances within the conceit, the central conceit of the film, seem to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Once the film goes outside of that conceit, the performances, I think, go up a notch pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
And so it makes me wonder if everything that was going on within that conceit was done so on purpose. Perhaps taking a shot at the medium that the conceit is built around. Good gravy. I am doing some acrobatics here.
By the way, Dave, that's a very smart way of saying what it is. You're basically verbally walking around and trying to avoid saying, good job, buddy. That was great.
I'm playing Ring Around the Rosie like crazy.
No, we don't want to spoil the movie, but no, I agree with you, and I know what you're talking about. Unfortunately, I don't know that we can see a whole lot more without
but I feel like the two primary actors, they're essentially giving two different performances to me. When they're within the conceit, they're doing one thing that can definitely be kind of stilted, and the performance you're talking about definitely falls within that conceit. I think even that performance kind of goes in an interesting direction once it escapes from the conceit.
And at the same time, without being specific about the performances that I wasn't crazy about, I miss Christopher Soren Kelly, that kind of intensity. With Ink, that character that he played, specifically the father in Ink.
Spoilers. Oh no, he's not a spoiler. That's not a spoiler. He's the dad.
That's who he plays. That intensity for me grounded that movie. Because there are performances in the supporting cast that are very big and very broad, and one of the criticisms that's been lodged at that, people say like, some of the supporting actors are very over the top, and I would say no, it's fitting because we're talking about multiple worlds, we're talking about worlds within worlds, we're talking about a fantasy conceit. Like I thought it really worked there, but bottom line, I thought Kelly. I just think he has the charisma and again that word, the edginess, the intensity to just ground that whole movie. I found myself always captivated by him, and I felt like I really wanted him. He has a supporting role in The Frame, but I wanted more of him. I thought his performance in The Frame and even Ink was at such a level that sometimes the other actors weren't quite with him.
Fair enough. Okay, so yeah, there's a sudden time jump there. I wanted to get a bit of clarification just with Barry real quick about something. We're totally on the same page now. I am very curious what you think about how things came together at the end of the film, like thematically and storytelling wise.
To be blunt, I don't think it did. And I think that kind of ambiguity is intentional by the design. And it was a very similar thing with Ink. I feel like this is a director who wants to have a relationship with his audience, not in a literal way necessarily, but he wants us to engage, he wants us to prod, he wants us to look for meaning, he wants us to have a personal reaction to his films, and that's a really great quality. But for this movie, I found myself reaching, grabbing for things, and there was just nothing in my hand. I wasn't happy with the resolution. And I know that there is some kind of emotional catharsis there, but I didn't feel it. And I know what was, I feel like the intention and what the movie is are two different things.
Okay, that's fair. I won't say I was 100% thrilled with the ending. I respect it. I enjoyed the film. I think it's a very rewarding film watching experience. But it doesn't give you easy answers. But if you've ever sat down and talked with the director, Jamin Winans, you're never going to get a straight answer when it's talking about the work. When you're talking about life and filmmaking and everything else, like he's told me stories about things that he had thrown his way after Ink. I even threw a crazy idea that Steph came up with that I thought worked really well. And it was while we were at the UCCS screening. I'd seen the film a zillion times, so the three of us went out to coffee afterwards, during the screening. I was like, hey, my wife has this idea. She thinks this person is actually this person. And Jamin's just like, walking? That's a really good idea. I'm not going to tell you anything. So I don't think that the film is ambiguous as a cheat. I think this is where I get back to where he's more interested in the idea of the conceit and playing around with that, especially at the end, especially with the literalization of the title of the film, than really being concerned about. It's an incredible sequence at the end of the film. Like it's worth it for the art itself. And usually I don't let a filmmaker get away with that, but it was so well done. It was such an interesting and innovative thing to do. I was like, I can roll with this. I think Ink is a better film, especially in terms of accessibility. I mean, the story is a lot more straightforward. It's more fantastical in some ways, and in some ways it's less. But I think if you're in for Ink, I think if you like Ink, you're going to be in trouble if you're expecting that when you see The Frame.
And that's fair. And I was really happy to revisit this film because certainly my expectations were a problem. But looking at it just recently, though, I find that, and I shot you an email about this a little while ago. Looking at Ink now as a father, I was not a father when I saw this film, and neither were you. Neither of us were parents when we saw it in 2009. We're both dads now. Ink is a different movie for me, certainly.
That's why, I'm interested to revisit it.
Yeah, it's a different thing now. Which is to say that the ending of Ink, which I won't spoil that either. But it's a simple walk down a hallway, but it's also about two worlds that are having this invisible battle that we're not aware of on the physical plane. It's so emotionally charged, and it really got to me. It got to me the first time I saw the film, but now, again, being a father, there's something about that movie that just continues to resonate with me in ways that, I wasn't even emotionally accessible to in 2009. And looking at The Frame now, it's not a movie that has any lack of imagination.
No.
I feel like, I mean, it's a wildly imaginative movie. I just feel the emotions for me were out of reach. It's a film that's so creative, but at the same time, I just don't feel like it had the heart that Ink did.
I think that's a very fair criticism. And I think it's saying that without taking anything away from the upsides of The Frame.
Because they are considerable. They really are. Yeah, it's worth seeing. Yeah, I was flat out disappointed with it the first time I saw it, and revisiting it again recently, I still don't love it like I love Ink, but I admire it so much. And there are individual scenes and moments of it that I just treasure, and I've rewatched a few times.
Yes. And I reached out to the Winans to see if they might be up for doing something. I'm like, hey, we got Walter. Let's start asking people. Why not? And it turns out they were not up for doing an interview or a live stream or a Q&A or anything like that because they are in the midst of two different film projects right now. So they are not, even though it's been 6 years since The Frame came out, they are just, you think I didn't hear anything before. It was, hey, we're working on a documentary and a film we've been working on for 3 years, and we're not coming up for air until we're done.
Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, this is something when I was working at Denver Comic Con, I'd have some filmmakers say, hey, I can't make it this year. I mean, notoriously, Alexander Philippe, the director of, 7852? Is that the doc, the Psycho doc? Yes, I believe that's it.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, People versus George Lucas, Memory, Leap of Faith. The man's a busy man. And so I'd ask him every year, hey, you want to come show something? And he was there the first couple of years. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm in Germany. I'm doing this. We're shooting stuff. And my answer has always been, I am so happy that you can't come and you can't be involved because you're in the middle of doing something. Like, that's the best thing ever.
Yeah, we love artists who make art. Yeah, we will wait. We will wait for you. It's you're worth waiting for. When, I love that Jamin and Kiowa Winans continue to collaborate. They continue to work together. They are such artists, and I got to say, like, if nothing else, their work is personal. The
Yes.
Frame is clearly a personal film. Ink is too. But looking at The Frame, because there's so many unanswered questions, because there's so many things in the film where I feel like it does feel like not only because of that anecdote that he shared with the Westward, but there's so many scenes in the film that they feel like moments that were kind of plucked out of his own life, memories, dreams, nightmares. There's some really rich imagery in that film.
And I feel like you're going to see both of them on screen, like blood, sweat, and tears. And so there were moments where, the first time I walked out, I was like, is this movie an indictment of religion? And when I watched it this time, I'm like, well, no, it's an exploration of the idea of concepts behind various faiths, especially behind the idea of a creator. I don't think it really says anything one way or another. It feels like more of an exploration than like definitive concrete answers as this is what I think and this is what you should think.
Yeah.
Which is something I can definitely roll with. I think that's why might be more forgiving with it. It's just, it feels like him exploring what he even thinks about life.
It's really saying something that these aren't necessarily spiritual films or religious films,
No.
They do allow us to consider that. They do allow us to kind of lean forward and go, what exactly is going on here? Because there is layers to these films. There is depth there. You can't say that about a lot of movies, certainly not American movies, certainly not independent movies. But yeah, there's really something going on in their movies. And I agree with you. Like looking at The Frame again, I think it's about free will. I think it's about the notion of free will. But at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily a religious or spiritual film. But I do think it deals with, because it's exploring this concept in a very, very nuanced and very unconventional way. I think we can derive that kind of meaning from it. And I think Jamin and Kyle want us to have that relationship with their work.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, it's definitely something I recommend. I think you do too.
I do. I have reservations with the film, but I do admire it, and people do need to see it.
Yeah, and it's available on Amazon Prime. The challenge is, like, I think we've talked about the themes, we talked about the filmmaking. Actually, we haven't. The problem is you can't talk about the filmmaking without getting into spoilers. Some of the techniques that were used were really interesting. Once you find out what they are, you're like, they really did that? It's really impressive. Now, this movie had a bigger budget. I think they had $350,000 this time, which that's not what this movie looks like at all.
Yeah, it's very polished. There's an opening heist scene, which I won't describe in detail, but it's a very skilled sequence. It's got a really nice button on it, which I've never seen done before, which I thought was pretty sweet. It's a beautiful film. It's gorgeous. I mean, clearly this is a filmmaker. It's funny that, when I wrote about Ink, and we actually spoke about it, because he's like, oh man, like Michael Mann beat me on your list. But obviously Michael Mann is a filmmaker that means a lot to Jamin Winans, because there is an aspect of heat in the beginning of the film. This idea of,
Yes.
of a street family, the idea of a career criminal, the idea of a code of ethics, if there are any amongst criminals. That is in this film, but also the richness of it. Denver is beautiful in their eyes. I love the way these two see Denver. I'm not going to name it, but I've seen some independent movies that were filmed in Colorado and Denver, and it's like, this could be anywhere. This might as well be Toronto. Or maybe the funniest example, Alien versus Predator Requiem takes place in Colorado. It was not shot in Colorado.
No.
And you would never go, oh, it looks like Colorado. No, it does not. No. But yeah, the Winans, man, they get why Denver is so beautiful. There's something otherworldly and really shimmering and mysterious and spooky about Colorado, the way they do it.
In downtown Denver, this wasn't like out in the boonies or the suburbs or anything. This was like downtown, like as downtown as it gets.
I can't believe like how under the radar they managed to be shooting in Denver. Like, I remember when you said you were going to do that set thing. I'm like, what? They're shooting the movie now in Denver? Yeah.
Yeah. So they had the actual reveal room is what I'll call it. And I believe they also had, I want to say it's Alex. Is that the character's name? Oh goodness. Why am I? Yeah. Alex. They had Alex's apartment built as a set. And then they had a ton of other space. So I'm like, they were using their space like crazy. I will give one anecdote about just how passionate Jamin is. After I saw Ink, we were covering the Denver Film Festival. which we did very often and hope to do again. And they were doing a double feature. Keith Garcia, the mad scientist of programming over there.
Yep.
Yes, I'm hoping to rope him into doing an episode at some point soon.
Love that.
Yeah, but he did the double feature where he brought out Best Worst Movie and Troll 2.
Awesome. Perfect.
And I talked Jamin into going to see Troll 2. That was a mistake, as it turns out. Because I was like, oh, it's one of the worst movies of all time. And I was just like, I've got an extra ticket. Do you want to come? Sure, no problem. We walk out, and he is railing for 10, 15 minutes. Who greenlit this movie? Like as the artist, he's like, what did I just watch, and why does it exist? Like, it offended him on a very core level, which, as much as I love Troll 2, I can't blame him for not being a fan.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. I can appreciate that because, I mean, we have, I discovered Troll 2 in the early days of Hulu. And I think did you see Troll 2 and then Best Worst Movie? Okay.
No. I hadn't seen it. I don't think I saw it until I saw it at the Denver Film Fest. I think I saw Best Worst Movie first.
Okay. I did have that. It was a very brief moment where I had seen Troll 2 without seeing Best Worst Movie. But yeah, I mean, my reaction to it was like yours, man. I just thought it was howlingly funny. I enjoyed it as the glorious garbage that it is. But it is interesting how that movie would play through the eyes of an artist, someone who, knows how painfully difficult it is to make a movie, and to see, money and resources and time and talent wasted on a film like Troll 2.
Yeah, which that might be a discussion at some point. I don't know if we've ever actually done the breakdown of bad movies that we love. That could be a fun episode. We need to do fun stuff. This is like 3 episodes straight of really serious stuff all the way across the board, which we're breaking next week and the week after. So that's okay. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to say closing up talking about The Frame?
I think I've said enough. I mean, it's, you and I can't help but gush over the Winans, which I guess is inevitable because,
they're such good people. That's the problem. Like
they're wonderful people, and they're huge artists. And it was a serious pleasure watching Ink become what it was. That's a movie that I've been all over, and people, I've had people like in Hawaii and people all over the planet tell me how much they love Ink. Which is really cool because in many of those cases I'm not the one to instigate that conversation. Like, have you seen this movie with this little girl gets kidnapped by this guy with the huge nose? I'm like, either they're talking about Ink or Cyrano de Bergerac.
But I think he kidnaps children. There's no child kidnapping.
They're talking about Roxanne, like Steve Martin and Roxanne. No, but no. In all seriousness, like it's been a gift that keeps on giving. I love introducing the film to movies, to people rather. People have it's one of these films that people love discovering. Mm-hmm. It's a true cult film in that respect. It really did get people buzzing and interested in 2009. But the fact that it's on Amazon Prime is fantastic. And it's great that The Frame is available too. I love that people get the chance to see this film because there was a while where you could only see Ink in the theater, and there was a while where I couldn't see The Frame anywhere, which is why you very kindly set me up with a copy when I was living on Maui. In the early days of streaming and whatever, it was impossible for me to see the film. So I'm very thankful to you that I got to see the movie, and I was also very thankful that I wasn't living in Colorado at the time because I was like, okay, I wrote this review, no one is ever going to see it. I'm fine with that, but I'm glad we could talk about it. Because revisiting the movie, it's better than I remember. I still have my issues with it, but this is a talented filmmaker who needs to be encouraged. Please make more movies because he's
absolutely. I actually told Jamin as I got out of The Frame, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be for everyone, but I think it was a very worthy film. So I still stand by that. Again, if you want to check it out, it's on Amazon Prime for free if you have a Prime subscription. Think that's you can catch other things, their other work, and actually buy stuff if you want to support the Winans directly at doubleedgefilms.com.
Go to Spin on YouTube. Actually,
I'll note it. I'll note it in. So I'll note it in the notes, and I'll also link to it at the end of this episode, so you can just click on it and go straight to it.
Thank you. The one thing I forgot to mention, I'll just spend just a couple seconds.
Yes.
I taught a mass media class last semester at the University of Hawaii Maui College. And we did a section on internet films and, when the internet allowed these artists to have their stuff shown. So, I mean, as we all know, Spin was one of the first films to really take off on YouTube. It's about 6 minutes long. It has over 3 million views. It's as great today as it was way back in the day. I think they made it in 2006, I think. Check it out. Spin. It's great.
And I'll also throw a shout out for Uncle Jack, which is another short that's also on YouTube. So at the end of the Straight Story episode, you may have seen there are links to the previous episodes we've done of ScreenGeeks. I think on this one, I'll just link to both of those videos instead, just because they're absolutely worth watching.
Yes,
they'll be easily accessible for anyone who wants to see them. Right. Let's see. I think that's about it for that. Let's talk about, we're doing a live stream next week.
Oh,
yes. So we're just kind of talking about the format. We're going to talk about what we've been watching lately. So it's not going to be just catching up of stuff that's 6, 8, 10 years old, whatever. We're going to have the ScreenGeeks kitty table because we're exposing our children to all kinds of interesting movies and stuff. Like we're in the midst of
exposing us to interesting movies and stuff too. So
yes, like My Little Pony.
My Little Pony.
So okay, quick. We should be saving this for next week, but oh well. Did that Patton Oswalt stand-up bit like resonate with you deeply after you saw it?
Not deeply, but I'm on my way. I'm not a brony yet, but I'm on my way. I find myself like, man, this is so witty, this is so sharp, and I really love Applejack. I'm on my way, Dave. I'm not a full brony yet, but it's happening. It's coming any day now.
It's fair. Right now we're doing the Tron movies, so.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I kind of backdoored this one. Disney Plus has a show called Prop Culture, and they do an episode about the props of Tron and what it is. And Abby's like, "This is so cool." I'm like, "Do you want to watch the movie?" Yeah, and I'm never going to say no to that. I'm always down to watch Tron movies. So we're going to talk about other things we've been showing our kids, what they think about them. I don't know that we're going to have them on camera just because that brings up concerns in the internet age.
My little girl is a saboteur. She doesn't allow me to make phone calls or do Zoom chats without. It's a lot of this crap. So
yes.
And I adore my daughters, which you adore yours. But yeah, Beatrice is a saboteur. She does not like me to do anything productive that doesn't involve her. If she ends up on camera anytime soon, it's because she forced herself. And
okay, fair enough.
To destroy my podcast career.
Okay, yeah, just as it's starting up again. So we're going to do the live stream coming up this coming Friday, June 12th at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. It'll be, I know we're definitely going to have it out on the YouTube channel. I'm not sure yet if we're going to do it on Facebook or Twitch as well. Facebook might be easier. We'll just kind of see how that goes. But we're going to be doing that next week. And I think we'll save what we're talking about after that for the live stream. But it's the epic conclusion to a 40-year-long saga that we've missed like half the movies that came out.
What could you be talking about, Dave?
I have no... It's more Transformers movies and the Fast and Furious franchise.
It's a long episode.
You don't want to spend an hour talking about Hobbs and Shaw? Come on.
Not specifically Hobbs and Shaw, but the movies around them, yes. Yeah, I'm not a Hobbs and Shaw fan at all, but I like every Tokyo Drift and Hobbs and Shaw are the only two that I really was not a fan of, but I do like that franchise.
Fate of the Furious was pretty god awful.
Yeah.
Except for the backdoor pilot for a 3 Men and a Baby reboot starring Jason Statham, The Rock, and Kurt Russell. Beyond that, the movie has no redeeming quality.
That, I mean, come on, yeah,
okay.
No. Yeah, but I think it's awful in a Troll 2 way. Granted, it has a budget about 70,000 times higher than Troll 2, but still, yeah, I enjoyed that one. Is moronic? Is it? They're all moronic, Dave. They're all moronic, but I enjoyed them.
I was looking forward to seeing Sir John Cena in the Fast 9 movie. I'm like, please be Marine John Cena. Please be the Marine John Cena.
I love that you just knighted him, Sir John Cena. Yes.
Oh, we knighted him. What are you talking about? Because of the Marine.
We did.
Yes.
After the Marine, he really earned it. Like, man.
Yes, exactly. So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, isn't it ridiculous? We don't get to see it for a year now. It's like it's May of next year, right?
Yeah, my heart will go on.
Yeah, I'll be okay. I'm fine.
yeah. There are other things I'm more upset about missing potentially. So that's
Ghostbusters. That was the one that kills me. We got to wait till March for Ghostbusters. That I'll be honest. That's the one I was like, no, I really wanted to see that.
I think. Okay, so this might be worth talking about next week.
Okay.
Is kind of what our movie going habits might be going forward once the COVID-ness dies down some and things start opening up.
Yeah.
Further, because I don't think theaters are open yet as of the time this is airing. And I have thoughts about that, and I'm sure you do too.
Of course.
So yeah. Anyhow, join us on Friday. Friday night, we did when we did the first live stream on Saturday. We had a lot more views afterwards, and I had several folks say, "Please, not a Saturday. We've got 8,000 different live streams happening on Saturdays." And I was like, "Well, will Friday night work?" "Oh yeah, no problem." So we're gonna go for a Friday night just to kind of be more available to folks. Yes, there it is. Yeah. Might even have some word about possibly doing some kind of Patreon thing. We'll see. We're still kind of batting that idea around. But if you want to, once again, if you want to catch old episodes, you can catch us at ScreenGeeks.com. I'm working on getting all the podcast episodes to show up and post properly. So then I can just export all these episodes we're doing out as audio and post everything as a new ScreenGeeks 2.0 feed. Let's see, past episodes, you can catch us on Facebook.com/ScreenGeeks, Twitch.tv/ScreenGeeks, ScreenGeeks.youtube.com. I'm toying with the idea of doing some live game streaming on Twitch. We'll see. That might even be a Patreon thing. We'll see. It might be fun to do. Who knows? But music is provided, as always, by the wonderful band Five Iron Frenzy.
Five Iron Frenzy!
Yes, wonderful Denver band. We appreciate them doing that. If you want to shoot us an email, you can give us an email over at podcastbarry or Dave all at ScreenGeeks.com. You can also leave us a voicemail at 970-315-2058. I don't think there's a voicemail message on there. It's just going to say leave a message. But do so and we'll play it. And it'll be fun. It'll be fantastic. Is there anything what do you need to plug, sir? What have you got coming up?
What do I need to plug? I have an article on the Gene Hackman thriller Night Moves from 1975 that is up on the Hollywood and Toto site. I love Gene Hackman. I miss him. That was really the point of the article, even though I talk about this great movie that Hackman did for Arthur Penn back in the 70s. A great murder mystery thriller. But really, the article was all about Gene Hackman. I love you. I miss you. I know you're 90 and you're retired, but come back to his Gene Hackman. But beyond that, oh my gosh, there's a fantastic movie on Amazon Prime right now called The Vast of Night by first-time filmmaker Andrew Patterson. It's magnificent, 4 stars, one of the best films of the year. It's a science fiction film. It's done with such skill and style. You would not believe that this is the first movie. Everyone is completely green. The actors, the screenwriters, the director. It's fantastic. It's a science fiction film. It takes place in the 50s about a radio operator and a radio disc jockey who hear this bizarre sound of the airwaves, and they discover it's coming from a UFO. It's a wonderful film. It's dialogue driven. So imagine Before Sunrise as a sci-fi film. That's okay. All I'm saying. It's wonderful. The Vast of Night on Amazon Prime. I can't recommend it higher.
Sweet. Okay. I think let's just wrap it up there. So until next week, this is Dave.
This is Barry.
Take it easy.